and people need to be ready. I'm going to say a few words in Spanish, and I'd like us all to hear from Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. Nuestra ciudad está preparada para la tormenta tropical Isaias. Todos los neoyorquinos se deben de preparar para fuertes lluvias y vientos y recordar de ayudar a los más vulnerables. Es importante cuidarnos unos a otros, especialmente en tiempos de emergencia. With that, I want to call up someone who has really seen what happened to this neighborhood after Sandy and has worked with us to make sure it's protected going forward. Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank the Commissioner and everybody in this administration who focuses so intently and successfully on issues regarding sustainability. And I am very pleased. I know that in the past, further north, when we had barriers, they're still there. We worked with OEM and got artists to be part of that wonderful project. And obviously today, as the mayor indicated, we are all very conscious of Sandy. We remember what 4 feet look like, and we have here the director of the South Street Seaport Museum, Captain Jonathan Bulwer, right over there. He certainly remembers it. And what we want to make sure is that we have these wonderful barricades. They're really cool. They're very sustainable. They will do the job. And we're really looking forward to seeing that this wonderful barricades keep this neighborhood from being flooded. It's flooding from the river, but it's also sometimes flooding coming up in the buildings. This is a very challenging low-rise area, and we're working with the South Street Seaport Museum to try to make sure that they have a sustainable future. But here today, with the storm coming, New York City is ready, and of course, in my role, Manhattan is ready. Thank you very much to this administration.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gail. And we're going to take some questions. I just want to say to Deanne and Janie, if there's any question, feel free to come up as you deem fit to answer. So questions about the storm coming on. Yeah.
You've laid out some examples here of what's different than 8 years ago with Sandy hit. You're laying out Tiger Dam. But specifically, how are we better prepared as a city this time around than we were 8 years ago?
How better prepared in general?
We better prepared beyond just these Tiger Dams, beyond the boardwalk you laid out. What else do you have?
Look, we can get you the list, and Janie, I'm sure, can speak to this in a moment. There's a number of measures that have been completed, and there's a number that have now been started, and there's a whole swath of Manhattan here that's going to be addressed permanently in the coming years. So we're unquestionably better off. We also know a hell of a lot more, and we take these threats much more seriously in terms of how we prepare. And God forbid we ever had to get to a moment of evacuation. We're in a much better position to do so from the tough lessons we learned with Sandy. But this storm appears to have a very localized impact in this area. This is the one area we're particularly concerned about given the projections, and we have the tools ready to address it.
Sandy took the left hook right at the end.
Yep.
The city was a little bit flat-footed. How are you better prepared in case it does change trajectory?
Look, again, the permanent changes that have been already in place in Queens, in Brooklyn, in Staten Island, there's a host of things that are different just since Sandy, but a hell of a lot more to do. I always say to people, the work of resiliency is going to go on for years and years, decades. We are unquestionably in better shape, but you're right, storms are unpredictable, so we do our best to prepare for what we know and then keep building from there. Janie, you want to talk about the extent of previous efforts to date and some of the things coming up?
As the mayor said, we have a number of coastal protection projects. I'm sorry, my name is Janie Bavici. I'm the director of the Mayor's Office of Resiliency. As the mayor said, we have a number of coastal protection projects that have already been completed in the Rockaways in Staten Island. We've installed new dunes, and we've also completed a coastal protection project in Seagate in Brooklyn. And this program that you were talking about today, Interim Flood Protection Measures Program, is just that. It's interim. And in many of the sites where we're installing these measures, there are permanent projects coming. We're actually breaking ground on Eastside Coastal Resiliency and the Rockaway Reformulation Project this fall, and there are a number of other other projects coming across the city that we're working to advance now. But I also just want to mention that besides coastal protection, we're also hardening our critical infrastructure, whether it's energy, wastewater, sewer, or transportation infrastructure, and a lot of that work has been completed since Sandy. And we've also improved many of our operational emergency response measures, which Deanne could speak to, since Sandy, incorporating the lessons that we learned during Sandy. So overall, we are much better prepared.
I'm going to make one more point on this. If you want to add anything, feel free. Yeah, I just want to add on this that the point about the hardening infrastructure, for example, in a lot of the public housing buildings, there's been a huge amount of work done thanks to FEMA funding to move mechanicals to a safer level in the building. We've seen that with a lot of nursing homes, backup generators, all sorts of things that we did not have at the time of Sandy that have really gotten a lot of work since then, building by building. Obviously, we know what happened to NYU Hospital and the work that's been done there. So there's a lot of examples like that around the city. Do you want to add anything, or you good? Okay, Katie.
I know you briefly touched on it this morning, but can you further explain the science behind why the incoming storm would only affect, and particularly affect, the seaport in Lower Manhattan, and it would be the first storm in history that would flood Lower Manhattan, but not flood the lower lying areas of the outer borough?
No, I disagree with that assumption. Let me have Deanne speak. Well, again, I just disagree with the assumption. I'll tell you why. Every storm is different, and each storm is based on, they do the work based on the projections they have, and in fact, I many times have experienced storms that had very disparate effects in different parts of the city, so I just don't think it's fair to say they're all the same. Go ahead.
So Katie, just to expand a little bit on what I talked about this morning, is we take a lot of factors into consideration. The direction the storm is coming from actually has a big input into the impacts that it's going to have, the strength of the storm itself, and we put that all into modeling so we can determine what we think the storm surge is going to be. So it's important to remember that this barrier right here is to protect from storm surge, and we're really only expecting a mild to moderate amount of storm surge, which is about 1 to 2 feet. We will see some coastal storm inundation in other areas, but it would be the same that we would see in severe thunderstorms and other severe weather, and none that would lead us to believe that it would be anything greater than that, which would require additional protection. So based on our modeling, this is the area that we felt really did need some additional protection to protect from the 1 to 2 feet of storm surge. Now, we are also expecting a large amount of rain, and so we know we're going to have flooding citywide across all of the boroughs because of this rain and those spots where we always see flooding. And that's where we activated our flash flood plan, and we've had crews out all weekend that have been cleaning catch basins, clearing the streets so we can identify or so we can prepare those spots that we know that we normally see that kind of flooding to help reduce the impact, but there will still be some impact. And so the next thing that we're doing to help mitigate that is we are going to have, from my team, we're going to borough deploy responders, operations folks out into each of the boroughs so they can quickly identify any problem areas and coordinate resources right on the scene to quickly respond. And that's something that we actually didn't do during Sandy, and I think it'll make a big an impact on how we respond here.
Specifically about the Tiger Dam, who fills them up? Is it a special team required, or is there training behind it? Just get a little bit of background on how that's filled up.
Yeah, great question. So the question was, how do we fill these up and how do we install them? So it takes about 72 hours to 96 hours to install if we were to do all of them across the city. We only had this one, and so we're able to do it in about 48 hours. We have a contract that we bring in to help establish it. As the mayor had said, we have these HESCO barriers that have been pre-staged across this area here, and that is so we can reduce the time that it takes to put in place. The Tiger Dams, the orange that you see here, get filled with water, and our contract firm does that, and it fills in the gaps and it closes the distance between those HESCO barriers. And so that will all be done no later than 10 p.m. tonight. And then the seams from where the HESCO barriers meet the Tiger Dams, we will put sandbags over those seams so we can further reinforce that. So by the time we're done tonight, we should have one seamless barrier to protect from the 1 to 2 feet of inundation or storm surge that we think we're going to see.
Okay. All right, we can do one or two more. Go ahead.
You gave an assessment this morning, and I was wondering if maybe the commissioner can answer this. You gave an assessment this morning of when it looked like, what kind of winds, at what time it was going to arrive, anticipate arriving tomorrow. Can you just give us the latest in case it's changed?
Yeah, things please have speeded up a little bit and let the commissioner review that, would you?
Yeah, the question was, the timing of the storm, and it has sped up a little bit, not a ton. We do expect to see some rain still coming in this evening intermittently, but the large amount of the rain we expect to now see late tomorrow morning, where we originally thought we were going to see it maybe more into the afternoon. So we still expect to see about 2 to 4 inches of rain, with some areas across the city that could see up to 6 inches in periodic moments. The winds should start about the same time, later in the morning tomorrow, late morning. It could be 35 to 50 miles per hour sustained winds that could be sustained for a period of about 3 hours. And we could actually see gusts up to 70 miles an hour. And that's an increase from what I briefed this morning. And so that period of winds we expect to last between about 3 to 6 hours, but sustained for about 3 hours, and those gusts in a 3-hour period. So I would say somewhere between 11 a.m. in the morning and between 2 and 3 in the afternoon as it looks right now. But this storm has changed in its intensity throughout the time that we've been watching this, and so we get another update this afternoon, and we'll be updating the mayor as to when we think the likelihood of the impacts we'll see. But right now, late morning tomorrow, where we see the majority.
Last call. Last call. Media questions, last call. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, high tide is expected tomorrow.